With the help of Hashem, we are learning Brachas Daf Mem. We are dedicating this Daf Le'ilui Nishmas Harav Shlomo Yitzchak Ben Moshe of blessed memory, our dear Rabbi Schwartzy, whose yahrzeit is today. May his neshama have an Aliyah, may his family and all of us be reunited with him with the coming of Mashiach now. Amen. I would like to start by making a very important correction to something that for many years I had in my mind and that I shared many times, and it's wrong. B'negei the bracha shahakol, as I have been mentioning over the last few days. So first of all, clearly, as we quoted Shulchan Aruch, quoting from the Magen Avraham, that nihiyah dafke is loshan avar. Okay. In Hayom Yom on Yud Bey Sivan, that is where the Rebbe writes our minig, that we are medagdik to say, as the Alter Rebbe paskins in Shulchan Aruch, nihiyah versus many others who say nihiyeh. Nihiyeh is loshan hoiva. In that same Hayom Yom, the Rebbe writes something that the Rebbe Rashab writes, ehoiv es habikoiris, love criticism, ki hi tamitcha ala goyva ha'amiti, because dafka criticism will put you on the highest level. So the concept of the hisavus being timidiyos, and fakir, the idea that al pi chassid is that it's a big mistake to attribute creation in the past, which is why we should dafka say nihiyeh. And actually I found out that, for example, the Gra and the others that say nihiyeh actually give that reason, because the hisavus is tamidiyos. So that has to be understood. B'chlal in Hayom Yom, the connection between one statement and the other also has to be understood. So I called up yesterday Rabbi Chol Seligson, and I told him, what's the connection between nihiyah and to love criticism? And he told me that always bothered him, and then he made the question even worse. Because if you look at the Tanya of Yom Yud Beis Sivan, the Tanya is the end of Perek Gimel Shara Yichud V'Emunah, where the Alter Rebbe, the whole theme there is speaking about how the creation is constant, and the whole theme there is how Tzimtzum Sholei K'Pshutai. So he says it mamish bothered him. Fakir, the whole theme of Tanya is that God forbid to attribute creation to the past. So I want to make the following suggestion. He didn't know yet. The following suggestion, take it or leave it, and if you have a better idea, please share it, because it was bothering me yesterday. So I thought like this, I thought it with him, he listened. The idea is that, fakert, if you look at Tanya Perek Gimel Shara Yichud V'Emunah, the end of that Perek, the Alter Rebbe is saying that there should never b'chlal be a world. No, it's the oir HaShemesh in the Shemesh is not even oir. So perhaps today, because of us listening to criticism and reaching the Goyva Amiti, when a Yid reaches the Goyva Amiti, b'chlal there's no world. Yesterday, before we reached the Emes, the Taka Einon Bovadoi, when we thought there was a world, at least we always acknowledge that the world is created by God. In other words, since Tzimtzum Sholei K'Pshutai and b'chlal sin Ishdaken Welt, so on that level there's no creation. That's the end of time. It's a b'chlal garnish though. Elama, when we are in a lower level and we perceive the world to be a world, at least we always acknowledge that the world comes into being from God's creation. In any event, nihiyah is lashon avar. Having said that, avad, we know and we should experience that creation is happening, as we were taught by the Holy Baal Shem Tov, every single instant. Okay, we're gonna be learning about what were to happen if one made a hefsek between the bracha and the eating. Very different than the halacha is if one makes a hefsek between washing and making hamoitzi. There, of course, one should not make a hefsek, but if one made a hefsek, especially a very short hefsek, and they know that their hands did not touch anything which would demand another washing, there you don't wash your hands again. Masha'enkin, after the bracha and the eating, as we'll learn, that generally we will have to make the bracha again, unless the hefsek was l'tzoyrech habracha. We'll define what that means. We're going to be learning the whole sugya of salt, of putting the bread into salt. We're going to learn the concept of salt in the Gemara. It's amazing that we know the minig, and many of us know reasons that were shared many years after the Gemara. In the Gemara, the whole idea of salt is to add taste in order for us to enjoy the bread more. However, we'll quote at the end the Shabbalos Haleket based on the reason of the Shabbalos Haleket, that the table is like a mizbeach and the food is like korbanos and you have to have melach v'chulei v'chulei. We'll share that during the share. We're going to be learning many healthy eating habits. And we're going to share the Maharshal and the Chedem HaKadmoinim as we go through the sugya. Question will be, if a person makes a bracha on the fruit of a hadama, or if a person makes a bracha on a vegetable ha'etz, is the bracha after the fact valid or not? We're going to be having here in Brachas Daf Mem the big machlokas tanoim pashut. What was the eitz hadas? We're going to be learning in the Gemara the concept of hisapcha. We're going to define clearer as to when exactly should you make a ha'etz and when should you make a ha'adama. Right? People always wonder, there are certain products that appear to us to be growing from a tree, like a banana, upon which we make a ha'adama. So it's not stam pashut, whatever's on a tree versus whatever grows in the ground. We're going to be learning as to what were to happen if a person makes a shahakol on wine or on bread. On the other products, if you made a shahakol after the fact, it included everything. But perhaps on bread and on wine, even b'di'evet, it will not suffice. We're going to learn Shitas Rav that called bracha she'ein ba askaras Hashem ein a bracha. You have to mention God Almighty's name. Rabbi Yochanan says that any bracha that doesn't have a mention of God's reign, of God's malchus, of God's kingship, of God's sovereignty, she'ein ba malchus ein a bracha, will suggest maybe what's the underlying machlokas between Rav and Rabbi Yochanan. We're going to be starting the sugya, and we discussed it already before. If you have various foods on the table, which bracha do you make on? Which really has in it two details. Detail number one is, if you have many foods that are of the same bracha category, ha'etz, then the question is, and one bracha will be good for all of it. One question is, which one should you make the bracha over? Then there's another issue, and that is if you have in front of you, let's say, ha'etz and ha'adama, or other bracha types, there the question, and there you're going to have to make a bracha on each type. The question there is also, on what do you make a bracha first? And we're going to learn more details as to when a person who took a product and he changed it from its natural state, changed it for the worse, then the bracha goes on to be a shahakol. Okay, so Daf Mem, Amid Aleph, we left off Pashit on the top of the Amid, Amar Rav. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam shahakol nihiyah b'dvarim. Amar Rav, Toil Beroich, Rashi says, Haboitzeya, a person broke bread. Whenever we have in Chazal Haboitzeya, remember it means you made the bracha and you broke the bread. And Koidam Shetoa Min Aprusa, again here the hefsik wasn't after Netilas Yadayim and making the bracha Hamoitzi. There we are relatively more lenient. Here your person already made the bracha, but they didn't yet put the bread in their mouth, and they didn't swallow the bread. Right? And the person told his fellow Yid on the table, take a piece of the bracha. Oh, so what's the problem? Rashi explains, the problem is that he spoke words. Here we're not speaking about a hefsik and zman, which is also not ideal, but even worse, it's a hefsek b'dibur. Says Rashi, afal pi shesach bentayim. Even though he said words, take from the bracha. That's what Rav is saying. Ein tzarech lachzor levarech. Rashi explains the chiddush. V'afal gav the sicha hava hafsaka. Speaking is a breakage, right, and an interruption, as we learn in Menachos, that if a person is sach bein tefillin and tefillin, between the head and the head tefillin, you have to make a bracha on the head tefillin. Same thing as by kiso adam. So says Rashi explaining the Gemara, hach sicha tzoyrech bracha. Take the bread, it's about the bracha. Since it's tzoyrech bracha, not that there was a need for it, but it's about the bracha. Back inside the Gemara, ein tzarech levarech, the person who made the bracha need not make another bracha. Meaning that if he would have spoken out words that it's not tzarech bracha, even though he already made a hamoitzi, he would have to make a hamoitzi nachamol. Again, here he doesn't have to. Why? Toil beroich is called tzarech bracha. What happens, however, says Rav, if he says Havei melech, Havei liften, bring salt, bring relish. Why did he say to bring salt, Chevra, in the Gemara? I know we behave like Eden. For us, there always has to be salt on the table. Emes, that came much later. Here, the reason why he said for salt, Rashi says, is because the breads that they made then had very little taste. So they asked to bring salt in order for the bread to taste better. Here, Rav holds tzarich levarech. It's not tzarich bracha, so the bread wouldn't taste so good. Hefsek, make a bracha again. However, on that Rabbi Yochanan Amar, afilu heviu melach heviu lifton, even if he said bring salt, bring relish, again l'tzarich tam, nami ein tzarich levarech. It's not considered the hefsek because that's also considered tzarich bracha. You don't need it for the mitzvah, but it's about you want the food to taste better. However, even according to Rabbi Yochanan, if he says gabel l'toida, after he made the bracha, he realized that his animal didn't yet eat, and the food that he has for the animal, the bran, if it's so dry, even the behemoth can't eat it. So he says, please bring the water. Gabel means to knead it. Please prepare the hay with abyssal vaser, so the animal for the ox should be able to eat it. Oh, that's already tzarich levarech because that's not tzarich bracha. However, even on that, says Rab Sheishes, afilu gabel l'toida, even if he says, go bring out the dog's food, right? That would be today. Namein tzarich levarech. Why? The Amar Rav Yehuda, Amar Rav, asur la'adam sheyochel koydem sheyitim meichel behemte. As it says, we read this in the Shema v'hayim Shemaya, v'nosati esav v'satcha livem techa. Mamish, the Eibusher says, I'm going to give grass in the fields for your animals. And then from where we learned that a person may not eat until first they feed animals, their animals. Even if he said Havei Gabel Toide, that is also not considered a hefsek because you can argue that it's vaguely Tzoirech Berachot. Okay, so like we learned in Rashi, why did he say to bring the salt? Because the bread didn't have taste. I'm going to read a Tosfot, but let's first read a gemara, just to point out, you'll see clearly that the salt that you would use then was pashut to give more taste, to give more time, like lifton, relish. Relish was to give taste to the bread. That's the machlokes, whether Rav holds it is not tzorich, but it's a hefsek. Rabbi Yochanan holds it's tzorich bracha. Amar Rava, right, 9 lines from the top. Amar Rava Bar Shmuel, in the name of Rabbi Chia, ein habaytzeir shaylev tzaya at sheyaviu melachei lifton l'fnei kol echad v'yachad. Now we're learning not about a hefsek b'dibur, hefsek and zman. After you make a bracha, you want to be able to eat the food ASAP. So since you needed salt and you needed relish because it wouldn't taste good, would taste bland, blah, without it, so make all of these achanes before your baitzeya. Baitzeya doesn't only mean to break, baitzeya means to make a bracha. So like this, after you make a bracha, there'll be the minimum weight between the bracha and the eating. And as we mentioned, even nowadays when you have a lot of people, we mentioned from the Zohar at the end of yesterday's shiur, first eat yourself. The one who's mevarech, the one who's the baitzeya, should eat it, and only then is there a ruchni, the bracha that comes to the food, it comes to the table, then that is when it happens. Not by all of the steps, tilas yadayim, hamoitzi, the bracha, and eating it. Rava Bar Shmuel ikla lebei reish galusa. He once visited the Reish Galusa in Bavel. The Goyim allowed the Yidden to have some sort of self-autonomous rule, and we had our own government, and the head of the government is called the Reish Galusa. And Rav Bar Shmuel once went there, and apikolei rifta, they gave him bread, and the batzalahedya, and he washed his hands, and he made a bracha, and he broke the bread, and he ate the bread even before they brought on the table melach and lifton. So Amrulei, so they told Rava, don't forget, Rava Bar Shmuel, Amar Rab Chia, Mishum Rab Chia, was the one that says only make a bracha after you have the salt and the relish. Hadar Mar Mishmaitze, did you retract your ruling? You didn't wait for us to bring the salt? So Amar Lahu, so Rava says no, that he went to the family of the Reish Galusa. The Reish Galusa, they were wealthy. So the bread that they served wasn't stam flour and water. That was already bread more like our breads. Already in the dough, they added all sorts of ingredients, salt and sugar and who knows what. So the bread has already has a good tam. Leis dain, this does not tzrich, this does not need bishash. Bishash means you don't need to wait. Why don't I need to wait? Because it has a good tam, even without the salt. Like breads nowadays, for most people, you don't need the salt because it doesn't taste good without the salt. Okay. Says Tosfos, the top Tosfos, Havi melech tzarich levarich. Right, so Tosfos quotes Rashi that the whole issue on top is about hesech hadas through speech, bringing also tefillin shel yad, tefillin shel rosh. Correct. And now I want to scoot down to the middle of the Tosfos. Says Tosfos, v'anu ein anu regilim lahavi ala shulchan loimelech liftan. We don't have salt and liftan on the table. Says Tosfos, bishum de pasha lanu chashuv. Because our bread, it's made with more ingredients. And that's the story of Rava saying, Leis dein tzarich bishash. Says Tosfos. However, miur Rebbe Menachem, right, Abala Tosfos, that's not that commonly quoted. He was medagdek ma'oid. Lahavi melach ala shulchan. As it says in the Midrash, that Keshi Yisrael Yeshvim ala Shulchan, when Yidden sit around the table, and what do we do when you have a nice Shabbos table and you have 30 guests, right? Everyone washes, but people are waiting for everyone else to wash as well, right? Avos Yisrael. But what do people do then? You can't talk. So people sit and they do nothing. So at that moment, says the Rabbeinu Menachem from the Midrash, Umabtinan zelzeh, what is normally the mitzvah? First of all, eating is a mitzvah on Shabbos. And then you speak Torah, you're active, you're bottling time. So hasatan mekatrik aleim. So what happens, says the Midrash, ubris melach megin aleim. The fact that there's salt on the table. And the Torah refers to salt as a bris. Bris melach is already connected. Where's their bris melach? In the Beis HaMikdash. Al kor korbancha takriv melach, and the Torah uses the word bris. So that's Megan on the fact that we're waiting one for the other. Now the Shebali Haleket, which is quoted by the Ramah, adds another detail of that, because according to this Midrash that you want to make it clear that our table is like the mizbeach upon which there's a bris melach. The Midrash doesn't say you have to dip it into the salt. Right? What does the Rabbeinu Menachem say? Lahavi melech ala shulchan. There should be salt on the table. The Shibboleth Haleket adds that we should actually dip the food into the salt because of the bris melach, because on the mizbeach everything that went on the mizbeach was dipped into the salt. And then you have the pratim on that. First of all, on the mizbeach, you didn't put the salt on the food, you put the food in the salt. You put the food in the salt. Which is why we're noyeg and sefer amenogim. Even if you have a salt shaker, you don't put the salt on the bread. You put the salt on the table. Not as I don't care about it. It's not beautiful. You put the salt on the table and you dip the food, the pas in the melech. And b'chal pi Kabbalah, just to know that melech is a representation of din and of guilt. It represents certain attributes from the left side. Bread is a manifestation of mamash rachamim, and rachamim, right? The upper one is the dominant one, pikabbalah. So you put the upper one and the bottom one that we want to have the rachamim should be over, and the ikir over the din. The whole idea of melech being din or being judgment. We all need to have a little bit of din in our lives, but just eat salt, nish good. When you have basar and you have bread and you have a little bit of din, if you get the right balance, then it's taka the most important thing in the world.
And everyone waiting is not a hefsek?
Everyone waiting is not called a hefsek as long as you don't talk, but that was the story. When you needed everything that could be ready to the greatest of your ability should be done. And again, the person who makes the bracha, so there's two hefsekas. There's between washing and making the bracha. And then there's between the bracha and everyone eating. And the ikir here is the one whose boitzeya should eat ASAP, even though it doesn't look nice. You cut the bread, you right away eat a piece of bread. Put it in your mouth. And then cut up the rest of the challah. Let's go right. Two dots. V'amar Rava bar Shmuel mishum Rabbi Chia. Ein meraglaim, according to the same Amoyre, ein meraglaim kolon el b'yeshiva. That if a person wants to fully empty their bladder from urine, you would only empty your bladder properly if a man would urinate while he is sitting down. All right? Why is that? So Rashi reminds us, the whole sugya of Nitzoitzes, that people were very cautious when they urinated. that we didn't want. Normally, naturally, if you're urinating on a hard ground, some droplets of the urine will spritz back on the bottom of your feet or on the bottom of your pants. And that is going to be moitzalaz that your children are mamzedim, because it might make people, you see the person has no koyach to urinate properly, he's a krushavcha, his children are not his. So people are very mindful of that. So Rashi says that when a person begins to urinate, once it's coming toward the end of the flow, when the flow is weak, when a person is not comfortable, when the person doesn't want for any droplets to fall on his feet, he will consciously or subconsciously, he'll stop the flow of urine. So his bladder won't be fully emptied. But if a person is sitting down and the person won't have any worry that there's going to be the netzoitzitz, then he'll let the whole flow go out. And therefore, Amar Rav Kahana, that if the person is urinating in soft and loose earth, today that would be in a urinal, right? Then afilu ba'amida, the entire bladder will get emptied out because you're not worried about the netzoitzitz on your feet or on your pants. And v'i leka offer tichayach, he's not saying to sit down, he's saying no, stand. Yamaid b'makim gevaya, find a place where you are standing on a higher grounds. And the yashtin l'makim midran, and you are urinating on a inclined area where begashmias, even if that earth is hard, but it's not facing you, it's facing away because it's on an incline, and you're not going to be worried about nitzoitzes. Okay, weiter. Ve'omar Rava bar Shmuel mishmei de Rab Chiya. Achar kol achiloscha echoil melech. We are starting a few lines of healthy practices. Now, very important Hagdama. We're learning this now in Brachos. We're going to have this throughout Shas many times. A lot of statements of Chazal Benegeya, what is very healthy or what is detrimental to health. There was a tosfot in Moed Katan Daf Yud Aleph, Amud Aleph, look it up. Tosfot there writes clearly that many remedies of the Gemara won't work nowadays because there was a change. That's the source of the concept of Nishtanu Hativim. On top of that, years later, the Maharshal wrote a tshuva in Chulin, in where he brings a chedim from the Kadmoinim that one may not put into use all of these medicinal practices, because if it's nishtanu hativim in that area, or if we didn't understand the Gemara properly, and therefore this remedy won't work, or that which is considered poisonous won't be detrimental, a person, God forbid, will begin to think maybe not everything Chazal said is emes, so don't even do it. And the concept of nishtanu hativim, we spoke out from the rebbe, very important concept. That what's nishtanu hativim? Torah is emes, but the nature changed. That in the world of geula, in the world the way it should be, the gashmias, the world shenishtal shalom should be a perfect mirror of the way things are beruchnias. Chazal knew the way things are beruchnias, so automatically they know the way things are begashmias. But dafke, because of galus, the greater the disconnect between the physical and the spiritual, it's shayach that even when there's a certain emes ba'olam ruchni, it's not fully mirrored ba'olam agashmi. Which is why now, as time, the further we went from the Bayis Sheni, from the Beis HaMikdash, from the Bayis Rishon, the more there was this disconnect. So they spoke about certain things the way they are beruchnias, but it didn't manifest begashmias, a gavaldike concept, which means that it's Torah Semes, when Mashiach will come, all of these nishtanu hativims for sure will go back to the way they used to be. Because we're learning how things are in a ruchniistic way, and many of them are begashmias. And the Rebbe Bechlal was very hesitant. You know, you have ein mugdim amuchrabat Torah. So some people, right, Rashi uses it very liberally, that Ramban says only when you're forced to do it. The Nishtanu Hativim, the Rebbe will only use when you have to. The Rebbe saw the world taka, the Rebbe Mashiach. We're looking at the world the way the world should be. The world should be aligned with ruchnius, and everything the Torah says not only is emes and atzilus, but it has to be emes ba'olam hazeh agashmi. Okay. This is a healthy practice. After you eat any meal, you know what you should have? You have a Danish. I have a Danish. You have an ice cream. Have a shtickle salt. And after you drink whatever you're drinking, drink water. And if you do that, someone showed me today there's something called charcoal. I have it in my house, capsules. So if you eat something and it's going to hurt your stomach, so who needs charcoal? Have salt. Salt is the antidote. Also steht in Gemara. In Adam HaElyon for sure. Tanya nami hachi achar kol chilascha chol melech. It says so in a braisa. Achar v'kol sheyascha shesei mayim. V'iyatan izoik. Tanya idach If you ate food but you didn't have salt afterwards, or so what might happen? You might have bad breath. It's not amazing? Before Listerine, that was the first. In other words, Listerine is to camouflage bad breath. Melach, bad breath comes from the stomach, not from the mouth. If you have melach after you have a meal, I don't know how much melach, it resolves that you won't have recha. You might have bad breath. Ubalayla, and at night, yidag mepnei askara. Askara is a certain inflammation of the throat that can lead to a person being suffocated. But this inflammation of the throat begins with in the digestive tract. And again, what is the solution? The solution would have been having salt after food and having a lot of water after you have any sorts of mashkin. Tanan Rabbanan, hamak b'achilose b'mayim. If you were to float your food in water, that means you would drink a tremendous amount of water with your food. You're never going to have intestinal problems. Like I told you that the Gemara tells us that Ruban Sadikin Misasan b'choyle ma'ayin. So this was important. If you resolve choyle ma'ayin, basically,
supposed to drink right after.
So doshte, to float it with water. How much water? Kitoin lapas. Kitoin, we don't have here the fluid ounces. Kitoin means a flask of water. For every bread, drink a kitoin of mayim. If a person eats lentils once every 30 days, he won't have askara. Here's where Rashi explains that askara, this digestive tract illness that can lead to inflammation of the throat, all begins when a person is constipated. Since lentils, they are mishalshalin, so that's the bigger refuah. Like the Rambam writes, if a person relieves oneself in the bathroom regularly, they're not going to get sick. So if a person is going to think, well, if lentils is healthy, then I'll have lentils every day, not once in 30 days. No. My tama mishum the kashal it's going to cause you to have bad breath. If a person eats mustard, once in 30 days, all illnesses, mustard, have mustard seeds. The mustard that we have in the bottle, the stomach, there's not one bit of mustard anymore in it. So Shangarnish was not bottled b'reiv, it's bottled b'shishim, it's bottled b'meir. Now it's all fake. But if you have mustard, aval kol yom eloi. Why? Mishum de kasha l'chulsha de liba, because it causes faintness of the heart. Here we have a doctor here. Go figure that out. If you have little fish alach, you would say herring, but herring is not such a little fish. If little fish means sardines, sardines, anchovies. Guys, unless the fish was rotten. But if the fish is good, fish will resolve. More, starting the medium-sized line. They help your body multiply and they bring health to the entire body of a person. Multiplying b'chlal, that we know that today the cells keep on carbon copying themselves. Xerox of a Xerox, that's when you get older, it comes a point where you make a copy of a copy of a copy. Try that today. What's the final copy? So that's the body when we get older. But if the copy happens good, that's a pshat mafrin umarvin. Umarvin, in other words, it helps the cells regenerate in a healthy way. Gavaldik. Haragol beketzach. Ketzach is what our mothers wanted us to eat, vegetables. Ketzach is fennel. Cooked on the Grace of Wikipedia, fennel is a tolda of a carrot. It's in the carrot.
The Moroccans love fennel.
The Moroccans love fennel. Then, ein abala de ke'ev leiv. They won't have any heart pains. Meisvei rashba goimar. Ketzach is good. Ketzach echod mishishim samani amavisu. God created 60 types of poisons. One of them is ketzach. That's the mother telling the child, have your veggies, and the child says, mamash is poison. And furthermore, and if a person sleeps to the east side of a storage place of ketzach, that means if you are towards the east, that means that when a westerly wind blows, it's going to get to you. You're to the east. We learned the westerly wind, especially by Eretz Yisrael. What's to the west? The Mediterranean. It's moist. It's a moist wind. Then doming beroishe. Then the person might die, and it's his fault. Shouldn't have slept there. So ketzach, something that takes away ke'ev leiv, or is ketzach going to kill you? So the Gemara says, like kasha. Now this is good for you doctors to go think about this. You would normally think, but when you take a food and you smell it, if you become farekeled from it, normally that's a siman. This is not good for you. Here, the Gemara is telling us, Chazal are telling us, that there are certain things that the scent of it can be very detrimental to you, and at the same time, the item itself is very good for you. So says the Gemara, like Asher, the odor is taka harmful. When does it take away? Ke'ev leiv, if you consume it. Tamei Rashi says if you consume it. And here we have a story, Imei, see all the mothers, Imei de Rabbi Yirmiyah. After Leidifta, this issue that mothers have, that the children don't like to eat vegetables, is from the Gemara. So they like bread. So what she did was she made bread, and umad bikolei, she would stick on the bread when the bread was still warm out of the oven, this ketzach, in order for some of the nutrients to get absorbed in the bread. And then umekalfalei, she would take away the ketzach. So first of all, the scent was not there. The child ate it because you thought you're eating bread. And he had all of the benefits of the nutrients that you have in ketzach. How interesting is that? Odor doesn't necessarily mean that the thing itself is not good for you. It just means don't smell it. The odor is harmful. The food is good. It's like smelling mashke the day after a fabrengen. If you, God forbid, drank too much, it's ekeldik. But the mashke is good. Now that's the ma'aseh with Shlomo HaMelech. If you drink today, the antidote, right, to a hangover, right, the brick upon the brick. Have another l'chaim. Okay, Rabbi Yehuda Omer. Yehuda Omer in the Mishnah by the Midrash that he has a specific type of bracha for different types of vegetables. Right? Amar Rab Zera, v'itemer Rab Chinan bar Papa, ein halachi ke Rabbi Yehuda. We make a generic by the Pri Adama for all veggies. Because it says in Tehillim, Baruch Hashem Yoim Yoim. What do I mean? Baruch Hashem Yoim Yoim says the Gemara v'chibi Yoim, the widest line. Mevarchen oisay, do you only bless Hashem at night? V'balayla ein mevarchen oisay elam loy melach. No. Kol Yoim v'Yoim tein loy me'ein berchaysa. If it's Shabbos, bless Hashem for the blessings of Shabbos. If it's Yontiv, bless Hashem for the blessings of Yontiv. It's like when you thank a person, the more specific you get, the better off you are. Go compliment your spouse. You're good. What do you like about me? You're great. That's not enough. You got to give a specific, specify the bracha. Hachinami, just like if you're blessing Hashem regarding the time, it's advantageous to thank Hashem specifically for this type of time, as we do in our tefillas. There's brachas we give for Shabbos and for Yontiv, and everyone has its unique blessing. So when you're making a bracha before you eat, Hachinami kol min umin tein loy me'ein berchaysav. That means even though it's birchas hanehenen, but there is a certain element even of shevach. We are blessing God. We are acknowledging God's gift to us, and be as specific as you could be. So every particular type should have its own bracha. Come and see. Midas basar v'dam, klei reikon machzik. Only if something is empty is there room in there to hold malei and a machzik. But a full vessel doesn't have any room to have anything added in it. When Hashem looks at us, the fuller we are with divrei chachma, meaning with Torah, the more God gives us. Reikon, if God forbid we are devoid of Torah, we are devoid of Yiddishkeit, then it's harder to be machzik anything new. In other words, when we learn in Chassidus, midas basar v'dam, from our perspective, what do we need to do to become a better keli? We have to experience the way we are reikon. Midas basar v'dam, that's a good midas basar v'dam. If we are haughty, if we are arrogant, we're finished. We're closed. You want to be opened, we have to feel that we are reikon, that we are empty. But when Hashem looks at us, He looks at the opposite, that the fuller a person is, the more God will give. Shenemar, as it says, how great is this? Parshas B'Shalach, Hashgacha Pratis. Right? That right after the Shira Sayam, so Vayomer, Im Shomaya Tishma. Now, what's the double lashon? So, Dibra Torah Kalashon Bnei Adam, or no, Im Shomaya, God says, if you listened in the past, then Tishma. If we are already Malay Torah, then God will give us more and the ability to internalize even more. The imlav, and if he didn't listen to the old, then lo tishma. Davar acher, this is not only about being full versus not being full, but this is about reviewing our learning. That im shomaya biyashan, everyone is excited to learn something new. The challenge many people have is to review. I already know it, kaviyachal. And there's no way out of this. Not only is learning fundamental for memory, but learning is fundamental to understand. That only when you review the old, every time you learn it, right? I made a mistake for all these years with my shahakol niyah. And I think Takadan, I didn't mention, he was the one that told me, no, that niyah is balasha and avar. So we have a kasha, habakasha. Only when you review the old, then you'll finally get it right. But if you're not going to review it, I know it already, then not shuvlei sishma, you won't know the old, you won't know the new. We have to learn, and nacham will learn. Says the Holy Mishnah, Berachot peris ilan, if a person makes a bracha on fruit of the tree, but what bracha did they make on fruits of the tree? They made the wrong bracha. They said boy the pri adama, that b'diavad after the fact. You should have made ha'etz, but you made a adama. You're yotza. Why? You think the Gemara is going to explain? Because where does it come from? That's the big question. What's the ikir source of the fruits of the tree? The tree or the earth? It's all the earth. Everything comes from Malchus Datzilus. And I mean Pinigla. So it's correct. You should have been more specific. Okay, but you didn't say something that's wrong, but the opposite. If you made a bracha al peiros haaretz, if you made a bracha on a vegetable, you said ha'etz, you're not yoitza. The Gemara is going to ask pshita, because of course you're not yoitza, because it didn't come from a tree. And the Gemara is going to clarify that this line in the Mishnah is referring specifically to a kernel that grows in a stalk, and especially Lamando Amar that the Eitz Hadas Toivara was a chita, and so we viewed the stalk like a tree, right? And the kernel, you could view it as a fruit. And especially if this is what the Torah is referring to when it speaks about the Eitz Hadas, Eitz. So you can make a Eitz. Komash Molan, that for brachos, no. Even there, you're not Yotz. The Al Kulam, and on everything, the way Rebbe writes, everything, Lav Nafka means everything. We'll see. We'll see how everything is everything. But on Al Hakoil, if you made a Shahakol Nihiyah, Bidvara Yotza. Okay, let's begin. First, says the Gemara, Man Tana, the Iker Ilan Alahi. Now, the fact that B'di'evet, if you made a Ha'adama on a fruit, your Yotza, which is predicated on Iker Ilan, the Iker is not from the tree. If the Iker would have been from the tree, then when you made a Ha'adama, you said wrong. No, everything comes from the Adama. Right? In other words, the fundamental source of all fruits, the tree is only a conduit. Before Tu B'Shvat. This will be learned, I think, by this cycle, by most people on Tu B'Shvat, more or less. That's the whole word. In other words, that everything comes from the Eibishter, the ground, the representation of Malchus, from Hashem. We're conduits. It should flow through us. Nothing comes from us. There is no us. There's only God. Rabbi Yehuda, this Tana is Rabbi Yehuda. The Tran, this is so beautiful how we link in Hilchas Bikurim, in a Mishnah Bikurim. Now what happens? You gather from the Shiva Saminim. You put it in a basket. You go to Yerushalayim. You have to make a long declaration. What were to happen if after you gathered that product, the mayon that fed, that irrigated your field, dried up? That happened after you already harvested the product. Or you took a fruit, you already cut the fruit of the tree, you're taking it to Yerushalayim, but before you declared the words of Bikurim, that tree was cut. What's the problem? Tanakama says, you have to bring it, but you can't read the words in the Chumash. Rashi, 8 lines from the bottom, is speaking specifically the words that min ha'adama asher nosato li. You're thanking God for that which you gave me, the items from which this came. Well, if the water no longer is here, if the tree is no longer here, then I can't speak b'lashon ha'ova, that which you gave me, which caused this fruit to come into existence, that's no longer in existence. Rabbi Yehuda says, no, maybe v'kaira. Why maybe v'kaira? Because nothing comes from the water, nothing comes from the tree, the ikid comes from the ground. Even if the tree or if the water dried up or got cut off, the ground is still there. So Rabbi Yehuda is the one that holds that ikar ilon arohi. So therefore, you can make b'di'eved a ha'adama on a fruit. Now the opposite, al peiras ha'aretz. If you said on a vegetable, boire l'kula alma, boire just a good. Boire is lashon haiva. Boire is lashon haiva. We don't say bara. Bara is blasphemous. Boire. Now, boire al peiras ha'aretz. So of course, pshita, you cannot make a ha'etz on a vegetable. It's not pshita, farvas, because nitztracha, this line in the Mishnah is needed. Rabbi Yehuda. See the flow of the Gemara. Now that we established that the resh of the Mishnah is Rabbi Yehuda, so you would say, it's all Rabbi Yehuda. That's the good way of learning. It doesn't always have to be that way. But since we established that our Mishnah is Rabbi Yehuda, and Rabbi Yehuda holds chita min ilonhi, where do we find that? That's the question as to what was the Eitz Hadas Toivera, the Tanya Ilon Sha'achal Men Adam Arishan. Rabbi Meir Oimer Geffen Hoya was a grapevine. And you know how he knows it? Because she'ein l'chadavar shemevi yiladim al adam. There is nothing that brings wailing, brokenness to the humankind only like wine, like narcotics, beginning with wine. So you saw the churban that happened, that the Shekhinah left this world. Or in the words of Nigla, we were kicked out of Gan Eden. Why? It must have been wine. Shneimar, as it says, and what happened? Vayishkar. No, it was a te'ena. Why was it a fig tree? Because there's a rule, that's the rule, that ultimately the same thing from which you had a downfall, from the tzara comes the tzoyhar, hisabcha. From the poison of the snake comes the antidote, because that's the emes. So since we find that what did Adam and Chava, there was God making for them garments, that was at the end of the parsha, but then the Torah writes in the middle, Vayisperu alei te'ena, that they sowed for themselves fig leaves. Alei te'ena. Shebadavar sheniskalkalu boy nitaknu. Shenemar vayisperu alei te'ena. So the fact that the Torah is megala that the solution came from a fig tree is araya. Why did they pick that tree? That is where they had their downfall. Reb Yehuda oimer, that's our Rabbi Yehuda, chita hoisa. And why does he say chita? Because until today, a child's mind, the part that's connected to calling out Abba ve'ima, whether this is connected to the Maya Chabina, which is from where words come, whether this is connected to recognition, wherever this comes from, there's something unique about grain that develops it. The Torah calls it Eitz Hadas. So therefore it must have been grain. So now we had three opinions, whether it was Geffen. Now there's another Tana, but the Gemara doesn't quote it over here. You know what the other opinion is? It was an Esreik. Okay, but here, so Sal Kadaita Chamina, Hoyel v'Amar Rabbi Yehuda Chita min Ilonum. So if a person takes a kernel of a grain, right? We learned many times already that before you made it into flour, if you were to chew a toasted grain, you make a hadama. So if you made on that ha'etz, maybe b'di'evad you're good. That you cannot make a boida priya eitz. Why? Now we're learning the liner that's going to clarify what's a ha'etz, what's a adama. Why do you make adama on a banana? It grows on a banana tree. My tamag. I'm sorry, because heicha mivarchin boida priya eitz. How can you make a boida priya eitz? Only heicha, only where? The chishaklat leila peda, when you take the fruit off the branch, not the tree, off the branch, isei legavza, the branch still endures. And not only does that branch continue, but v'hadar mapik, that branch will produce next season another fruit. That is when we make a ha'etz. It's coming from a residual source. Daf mem amid base. But whenever you have a branch, even if the tree will continue to exist, but this branch, when you take a fruit off it, this branch will no longer give you fruit. Then what bracha do we make on all berries aside of strawberry? There's a machlok is there a ha'etz for this reason. I don't care if it's a bush, it's not about the height of the tree. Does that same branch produce every season? Yes, ha'etz. You can have a groisa banana tree, that branch will never give a fruit again. By the Pri Adam. Since chita, that stalk, take off the curtain, will never produce again. So in the context of brachos, you may not even b'diavad make a boire pri ha'etz. Let's fly weiter. V'al kulan, that's the v'al kulan. The Mishnah says, if you make a shahakol, you're good to go. Itmar, we learned, it was stated, right? This is an intro to Amoyroim, Rav Huna Amar, Va'al kulan doesn't mean va'al kulan. There's always exceptions. Chutz min habas umin hayayin. Why? This is important. Look inside the top Rashi. Chutz min habas umin hayayin. Kedemrin l'cha'az, we'll learn on daf mem beis. Wine, goyrem, brachos, harbe la'atzmai. Many people consume wine even when they don't want the wine. You have to make kiddush al hayayin. You got to make havdalah al hayayin. You got to make birchas chasanim al hayayin. That's the way Rashi teaches the word that shegoyrim brachas harbe la'atzmai. So it's not your typical nehenin product, even though now you're drinking the wine for consumption purposes, but since it is used for the performance of a mitzvah, it's in a different category. It's such in a different category that you can't even be able to make a shahakol. And what about bread? So they say bread also. If a person doesn't have wine, on what do you make kiddush, chevre? On bread. So if any food is used for a mitzvah and there you don't consume the food because you want hana'ah from the food, that puts this into a different category. Rabbi Yochanan Amar, no. Afilu pas v'yayin v'al kulan kipshutai. B'diavad, if you made a bracha on pas or on yayin and you made a shahakol, you are yotze. Frag the Gemara name, kitanoi. Whether shahakol suffices for bread and wine. Well, let's go now to the nusach habrachas. Ra pas v'amr. If a person sees bread and they say, listen to the herzog to abracha, kameno pazu. How beautiful is this bread? And they're not mafsik mimishnasi. They don't separate beauty from God. Adrab, they see the beauty and they say, oh, Baruch HaMokim Shebera. Blessed is HaMokim, one of the names we give to Hashem, underlying that Hashem is everywhere that created it. Yatza. Or Ra'a Te'en, if you see a fig, V'amar Kamana Te'enazu, and Baruch HaMokim Shebera. Yatza. Divrei Rabbi Meir. Rabbi Meir holds that even if you were not faithful verbatim to the Nusach HaBrachas that were enacted by the Anshe Knesset Hagdolah, or other times we have the Lashon by Ezra Ubeis Dinoi, as long as the content of the bracha was there, you're good. However, Rabbi Yossi says, no, Kol HaMeshana Mimadea Shetovach HaChamim. If you change, if you deviate from the formulation prescribed by the Chachamim, again, we're speaking now, Ezra Ubeis Dinoi, Bebrachas, Lo Yatsa Yedei Chavos. Does it have to be exact, or does the content or does the general structure have to be there, but you don't have to have it verbatim? So how is this linked? Think. So Neymar Rav Huna, what did Rav Huna say? That you may not make a shahakol for bread or for wine. He goes like Rabbi Yossi. Hold on, how does he go like Rabbi Yossi? If you go like Rabbi Yossi, that you may not deviate at all, then how can you make a shahakol for a vegetable? Why isn't that a deviation? So the Pnei Yeshua says beautiful. He says by the very fact that for all fruits you make ha'etz, for all vegetables you make adama. So for many foods you make a shahakol. In other words, they generally we do subscribe that there are brachas. One bracha can be the same for many items. Where's the only two exceptions? Not Latana Rabbi Yehuda. What's the only exception of an item that has its unique bracha that you make for no other thing? Wine and bread. So that's called a deviation. You deviated, no, as if the Chazal said, no, for ha'etz, generic. So generic, b'diavad is good enough. But to use that generic shahakol for something that has its own bracha, that's a deviation. And according to Rabbi Yossi, Kol HaMeshana ain't a bracha. Rabbi Yochanan says, like Rav Meir, doesn't matter. Generic, not generic. The content is there. You're acknowledging that the world is a creation of the Eibishter. So Amalach Rafuna, no. Each Amayra can hold like either Tana. It's not connected one to the other. Another Amri, even according to Rav Meir, At kan Rav Meir Hassan Elahecha de Kam Matkar Shmei de Pas. Right? Rav Meir, who allowed for this person to say Kameno Pazeh, at least he mentioned the bread. Right? Even a mayor will be moided that it's not good. So therefore in the Mishnah is va'al kulam chutz min abasar chutz min apasu min hayayin. Rabbi Yochanan amalach the opposite. Another Amri afil Rabbi Yosi at kan loik Amr Rabbi Yosi Hassan ela mishum de Amr Berachot lekin rabbanon. The Chachamim said Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech ha'olam hamoitzi lechem min haaretz. What did he say? Kama no pazu Baruch hamakom shabara. You have a complete deviation. Aval Amr shahakol niya bedvarai. Who formulated shahakol? Also the Chachamim. It was not Mishana. He's using a bracha that the Chachamim made. Eloma, l'chatchila, it's not supposed to be used there. So I feel it, Rabbi Yosi will be moida, that it is good. Either Ramayda can hold like either Tana. Says the Gemara the following story. Binyamin Raya, Binyamin the shepherd, Karach Rifta, when he broke bread, V'aman, and he said, remember as children we have this in the Alter Rebbe Siddur, Brich Marei, blessed is our creator, or the creator, Dahai Pitam. Blessed is the creator of this bread. And Amarav, you know what? Yotza. He fulfilled his obligation. 1 second, that's all he said? Can't be. Can't be. Why can't it be? Because Rav himself said, Kol bracha, she'ein ba'askaras Hashem, eino bracha. You have to mention Hashem's name. So the answer is the Gemara that Binyamin Raya didn't just say the words we had, but the Amar Brich Rachmana Mara da Haipita. Interestingly, what does it say in the Siddur? If you look, Brich Rachmana Lakana Malka Diyoma. We also mention Malchus, as we'll see in a moment. And if you look at the Birchas Hamazon Yilchab, the first bracha written by Moshe Rabbeinu only speaks about sustenance, Hazon Nesakoil. The second bracha adds, aside of many other things, but Bechlal al Haaretz, a blessing for the land of Israel. Right? The third bracha adds a bracha dafka for Yerushalayim. Yerushalayim means the Beis HaMikdash, which is why today we still say B'nai Yerushalayim. Yerushalayim can be built, doesn't help. We need to have the Beis HaMikdash is the heart of Yerushalayim. So if you have to make, since you have to make 3 brachas, this is even before they enacted the Hatoiv U'Meitiv. How can 1 bracha be enough? So the Gemara says, "Ma yotza dika amarav nami yotza yedei bracha rishoina." We have to acknowledge Hashem being the one who gives us sustenance. That is mentioned with this Brich Rachmana Mordechay Pita. Now, my Komash Malon. So hold on. If Taka, you're not yoitze the 3 brachas, but you're yoitze as the first bracha, so what's the chiddush? Asks Gemara. If you're telling me the chiddush is that afagav the amar b'lashon chayil, even though you used a non-lashon hakodesh, it's as a medium language. It's lashon arami. Then you're good. That's not a novelty that we learned in a Mishnah. Mishnah and Soita. Ve'elu ne'emarim b'chol lashon. The parsha of Soita, that the kohen has to speak to the woman. Vidui meiser, that we have in Parshas Kisavei, that the person twice in the cycle of 7 years, when they're separating the Trumas U'Maisers, and then there's actually giving it to the rightful recipients. The giving it has to be done until Pesach of the 4th year and up until Pesach of the 7th year. And when it was done, you made a confession. Normally confession means I sinned. This confession is that we did mitzvahs. You confess that you did the mitzvah properly. Ukriya Shema and Tefilla, Ubirchas Hamazon. All of these may be said b'chol lashon. So what's the chiddush? Answers the Gemara. Hanamila, the Amr b'lashon chol kecha detakinu rabbanon b'lashon kodesh. You would think that when is saying the words in a non-lashon hakodesh language good, if you did the best you could verbatim, you interpreted the words. People today who daven in English, right? A lot of pain went through, a lot of effort went through to translate the words to the best of our ability. So you're not saying it b'lashon hakodesh, but you're saying the same in another language. But over here, Binyamin Raya didn't interpret the first bracha that's this big in the Siddur that Moshe Rabbeinu wrote in Lashon Chayil. He made a synopsis. It's not good. So that's the chiddush of Rav, that b'di'eved, or for a very young child, that's good, instead of nothing. Say this, as long as the structure is there, right, and with the details, as we just learned, that Rav says you have to mention Elokana. And then we'll learn later, Rabbi Yochanan says you also have to add Malchus. So as long as you had the fundamentals, it doesn't matter that you didn't do verbatim in another lashon. That is a chiddush. And gufa, amarav, kol beracha she'ein ba'eskaras Hashem ein a beracha. Rabbi Yochanan first of all agrees with Rav. If you don't mention God Almighty's name, it's not a bracha. But also, kol bracha she'ein ba malchus ein a bracha. And what's the question? The question is, l'chur al pi chassidus, is the ikar habracha for you to go up to the Eibishter? Is it milmata l'mayla? Milmata l'mayla, what I need to mention is I have to go and touch godliness, Shem Hashem, or is the ikar bracha to bring godliness down into the world? And if you want to bring it down, then the way Elikus comes to the world, it goes through a Seder Ishtalshlush, and that's the Nusach HaBracha. Baruch Ata is Hashem beyond the shame. Then you're going Milmaila, the highest level is you. You can't call God, the essence of God has no name. Then it goes down, godliness goes into Shem Yud Kei Vav Kei. From there it goes down into Shem Elokim. From there it goes down to Melech HaOlam, to Malchus, like we had on Amud Aleph, everything comes from the ground. And then it goes into the specific item. So if the ikar of a bracha is milmayla lamata, you also have to mention malchus. Amar Abaya, Kavasid Rav Mistabra, the Tanya, part of the vidui meiser we have in Parshas Kisavai, that the person who now already gave it to the right recipient says lo yavarti memitzvei secha v'lo shachachti, taiches this braisa. Lo yavarti means milivarechecha. I never did not refrain from making a bracha, v'lo shachachti, to mention God's name in the bracha. So the fact that we are emphasizing not forgetting shame, malahaska shimcha, the Braisa doesn't mention we didn't forget to mention malchus, is a raya that malchus is not essential. Ve'ilu malchus like tani. Doesn't this Braisa refute Rabbi Yochanan? Says the Gemara, Rabbi Yochanan amends the Braisa. Rabbi Yochanan tenei letter narain v'lo shachachti malahaska shimcha and umalchuscha olav. Okay, next Mishnah. Fa'al davar she'en gedulim min haaretz. Something that does not grow from the ground. What do? Examples. Not examples, exceptions. Ala chometz. Chometz is vinegar. Al noivolos will have in the Gemara are dates that have been altered in some way. There might be a machlekes in what way, but they were altered to worse. Va'al hagoivai, if you eat a locust, obviously kosher locust. We had that sugya in Chulin. Even pointed out then the hashgacha that under certain locusts there is a ches on it. Why not what you would have thought date? You should make a ha'etz because it changed to the worse. Shakol. Rabbi Yehuda Omer on these three kol shehu min klala, anything that is a result of a curse, ein mevarchin olav at all, and all of these three are connected to a klala, as the Gemara will speak out. If you have in front of you many types, now there are two options in understanding this. Either many types of fruits, for which you're only going to make one bracha, the question is on which one, but that bracha will be good for all. Or minim harbe might mean you have in front of you a fruit and a vegetable. Bracha of one, even though we learned in the prior Mishnah that b'di'evid, if you make a bracha of hadama on a fruit, you're yoitze, but that's only b'di'evid. Lechatchila, you have to make a bracha for each type itself. Here, the question is which one comes before which one. We'll see in the Gemara what does this Mishnah refer to. But here says Rabbi Yehuda, im yesh b'nei min shiva. Let's learn pshat that you have two fruits in front of you. Let's go with that pshat. We'll learn other options on Daf Mem Aleph. And one, let's say, is an olive, right? Shemen zayis, also an olive, and one an apple. So mavarech, all of them mavarech. On the one that is part of the Shivas Aminim. However, the Chavim that mevarech al eza mehem sheyirtze chaviv, what you find more appealing, what you want to eat right now, that is the one that now will take precedent. There are many other klalim, but that's a klal we're learning in the Mishnah. Says the Gemara Tanach Rabbanan. We learned in a Braisa in a more expounded way that al kol davar she'en gedulim min haaretz kigoyin b'sar behemois chayois v'oifos v'dagim oimer shehakol ni b'dvarei al hecholav on milk al habeitzim on eggs al gevin on cheese oimer shehakol. Now we'll start al pashe ipsha. If you have moldy bread, now bread hamoitzi, now it got ruined, it changed for the worse, it's moldy. The wine is already stringy. Fadarbin. Valatafshil sha'avar tzurasa. You have a cooked food that is spoiled. Oimer shahakoil. Okay. Now, if you remember, we learned above, if something is mazikyu, so Shitas Rambam was you always make a shahakol. Shitas Rashi is you make a nothing. So according to Rashi, it got moldy, but it's not yet going to be mazikyu. Okay. Ala melech, if you have salt. We learned on Amud Aleph. Eating salt after a meal is a great thing to do. Take away your bad breath. Vala zamis, if you'll have salt water. Here for Pesach, you can buy from Leaders Kosher Pesach food. They sell little pekalach of salt water only in America. Salt water packaged. Gavaldik. Va'al kemeinu pitriyos, truffles and mushrooms. Oimer shahakoil. Ooh, so here the Gemara goes in. Lememra the kemeinu pitriyos lav geduli karkani. Are they not growing from the ground? The hotanye hanoi, that if a person makes a vow, mi peiros haaretz, I will not derive any benefit from the peiros haaretz. Then also the peiros haaretz, but muter bekemeinu pitriyos. Because it's not called peiros haaretz, but if he uses the words, I won't derive benefit. Kol gedulei karka olai asur olai means it's prohibited on me. Then asur afilu b'kameinu pitriyos. Is the charai that it is gedulei karka? Amar Abaya like this: mirba rabu ma'arba. It grows from the ground. It derives nourishment from the ground, but look inside Rashi, not directly, because it needs moisture. The moisture comes from the ground, but it goes into the ear. That's called indirectly. But minke, so it is rabu ma'ara, grows from the ground. But minke le'yanki, it doesn't derive yanika nourishment directly me'ara. It doesn't fit. The Gemara says, look inside the beginning of this brayso. Tan Rabbanan al davar she'ein giduli min haaretz. Al davar she'ein giduli min haaretz ketani. How does that fit into the words? Answers the Gemara. Tanei al davar she'ein yoinik min haaretz. Let's hop another few lines. These are three items. One of them are dates that were changed. You make a shahakoil. My noivalois, machloikis, according to the first version between Abzain and Abila. Chadamar, bushlei kamra. There are dates that were scorched from the sun. The chadamar tamri dezeka. There are dates that were wind blown off the tree before they fully matured. Tanan frekt gemara. Rabbi Yehuda Omer in our Mishnah kolshum in klala ein mevarchan olav. Now bishlem laman omer bushlei kamra. If they were scorched by the sun, you can call that a curse because the sun ruined the dates. They were keilu cursed. Ella lamanda omer that noivalas means tamri dezeka, dates that were simply blown off the tree before they were ripe. You can't call that a curse. Maimin klalahu. In other words, they were not damaged. There's damage, right? And then it wasn't developed enough. You can't compare them; they're not in the same pot. So the Gemara says, "Enachanami," that these words of Rabbi Yehuda only goes asha'ar on the other two. Ikada amri no bishlam bushlik hamram. According to the Maramar that says that noivalis means dates that were scorched by the sun. I know the mevarchino layo, at least they make a shahakoil, because the rule is that anything that changes for the worse, you make it changed for the worse. Elamand Omer tamri dezeka. If it was only blown off the tree, then why shahakol? It didn't change for the worse. I know that it wasn't fully developed, but it didn't change. It is the way it is when I got off the tree. So the Gemara says, Ella, because of this kasha. Whenever the Mishnah uses the words that it refers to bushlei, the kamranino. And that's why in our Mishnah, speaking about dates that were burnt, scorched by the sun, that's why they had a change. That's why you make a shahakol. There is a machlekes amayroim, but that's only when the Tana uses the words noivalois temara. Dates that are neivalois. Where do we have these words? The Tana, Mishnah, and the Mai. The rule is if you buy produce from Inam Haaretz, Bizman by Yesheni, after the Takana, you have to be choishes that he did not take off all of the Trumas U'Maisres. When do we have to have that fear? If the product is valuable. But on Kalin, Shabbat, if you have fruits that are to begin with lenient, they don't have that much value, there's a cloud that people don't look to cut corners if they benefit very little. So since, anyways, they're hardly worth anything, even an Haaretz will give off all the Trumas U'Maisres. And what are these fruits or vegetables that have very little value? Shisin, Rimin, Radin, B'nai Shuach, B'nai Shikma, Gufnin, Nitzpa, and Leivalis Tamara. Let's touch each one. Shisin means it's desert figs. Rinin means, candy, right? Candy, lotus. The words uzradin means tulshe, sorb apples. But I shuach to any chivara, white figs. But I shikma duvle, sycamore figs. Gufnin means shili gufni, late season grapes. They're not good. Nitzvah, we learned pircha means caper berries. And loivalis tamara. Here's where we had the machlekes. Rabbi Love and Rabbizajac. Chadamar bushle kamra. Right? Dates that are scorched by the sun. The chadamar tamre zeka, they were windblown. And here the Gemara says bishlem bushle kamra. Hainu the tani kalan shabadamai. Sveken with the pater havadoin chayev. Because if you know that they were not tithed, if you know that since they have an owner, it got ruined, but if it has an owner, you have to tithe it. But according to the Man Amar, that the Mishnah is referring to Tamli de Zeke, dates that were blown off the tree before they were ripe. And the rule is normally if you have an orchard and fruits are blown off the tree before they're ripe, you don't care about them. They didn't develop. And therefore they should become hefked. And l'chayda b'chal by hefked never needs to be tithed. Vadoin chayiv hefkedaninu, answers the Gemara, that the one who acquired it made it into a big pile. And we'll learn that midrabanan, even something that was acquired from hefked, if you made it into a pile, you have to be toidem trumus u'maisres. To Amar rabbizajac, Amar rabbi Yechon, Mishum Elazar ben Yaakov, haleket v'ashikcha v'apeyash ason goyren hukful u'maiser, like Rashi says. So an observer should not be choishish that you did not separate trumus u'maisres, and they won't know that you got it from hefked. Okay, we'll stop over here to be continued.